Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.wordpress.com.
And this is Travis from Odd Those Thoughts on YouTube.
Travis, welcome back to the show. It's been a while since you've been on the Longbox Review podcast.
Yeah, it has.
It was the second part of Marvel Now. That was the last episode you were on, and that was, gosh, seems like months ago.
Yeah, it does.
and part of the reason why it feels like months to me is that basically I've taken at the time that we're recording this, I haven't released an episode. I released episode 50 at the beginning of July, and here it is almost practically the end of July. And the reason for that is I had surgery after that episode 50 went out. I had surgery, and I've been basically recovering and relaxing as much as I can ever since.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to, Travis, I found to just sit up, in which that's what I have to do to record.
Right.
I can't just lay down and record. That doesn't work. So I can only sit up and for a couple hours at most. So it's I've just been kind of chilling, trying to, well, not really, because I get anxious when I don't record a new episode.
But you got lots of comics read, though, right?
Well, you know what? Yeah, I got all of my the first half of July comics read.
Yeah.
Well, I guess technically that's not true, because yesterday this is what is today, Travis?
Today is July 28th, Sunday.
Yeah. So as we record this, it's July 28th. Yesterday I went up to Spokane to the comic book shop up there and got my comics from them that I order. So I do have a few more titles to read, including the Hawkeye Annual and that new comic I really like, 10 Grand.
Yeah.
So I do have a few more titles to read that comprise the first half of July, and next week I'll get my second half of July comics. So I have plenty to read coming up.
Cool.
What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. I've been having computer issues here until, just recently. Computer net and internet issues that I've been fighting with. So, I wouldn't have been able to record with you for the whole month of July, even if you were able to record. So
yeah, it's funny how that works out.
Between getting new internet and having hard drives die and that sort of stuff, it kind of made for a long month as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah. But we've both been doing some YouTube stuff. I mean, that's primarily what you do, and
yeah.
I've been dabbling in it. So during the last few weeks, I've put out a few videos, which I have a link to on the blog at longboxreview.wordpress.com, and you should definitely check out Travis's videos as well. He just hosted a comic book roundtable with some other folks that was really interesting. It was a lot of fun. So people should really check that out. Let's see here. Travis and I also have been playing a new online game. I just wanted to mention this, Travis. I didn't tell you about this, I don't think. To fill the void of City of Heroes, we first went to Champions Online and didn't care for that all that much, I think. I was starting to get into it when we decided to try out this new game. There were problems with it. It's really hard to go from such a great game that City of Heroes was to something that is sort of like it.
Right. That was my problem with it. I think more than anything was the fact is it felt like it was trying to fill in for a void that I don't think we're going to replace. And so having something that was kind of like it was worse than something that was completely different.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. So Travis and I were just talking one day. Was that when we were recording that episode for Marvel Now? Afterwards, we were talking about this. I think so.
Probably. Yeah.
Anyway, so I mentioned this other game called Secret World. I guess it's The Secret World technically. And so we decided to try it out. We have a couple other friends that live on the East Coast that we play with from City of Heroes, and we've just continued to play together on these other games. And so we tried out this new game, Secret World, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it for sure.
I at first I was really frustrated because the mechanics are a little different. The gameplay is definitely different in some senses than City of Heroes. City of Heroes to me is in comparison to Secret World, City of Heroes is really simplistic, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It was really easy to pick up
Right.
and understand the concepts. But Secret World, you really have to, in some cases, you really have to think about what you're doing. You know, like I'm thinking of some of those missions that we have to do where you're given clues and you have to figure it out. It's not just a matter of, go find this glowy and click on it.
Right.
So,
for sure.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. People should check that out. Let's see, anything else new that we should mention, Travis?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Before we go any further, and this episode we're gonna talk about some news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, which was a few weeks ago. But first, I wanted to get to some feedback that I've received recently about the podcast. This is from an iTunes review. This is from Estrella72, and this is not glowing praise, Travis. So the title of this review is "This is a DC Guy." It's a 1-star review, and Estrella72 said, "I am not partial to the big two. I'm kind of an indie guy. This podcast is all about DC and the stories of the New 52. Okay. I tried to read some DC titles and I do not enjoy it. I listened to his Marvel Now reviews and he just laughed at some of its titles and storylines. So I read Marvel Now to get my take on it and I love it. I think this guy grew up reading DC and does not realize it's not good. So this podcast is not for me." In case Estrella72 or whoever you are is still listening, I appreciate the feedback. I don't know that this person, Travis, actually listened to all of the episodes because we praised a lot of the Marvel Now stuff in those 2 episodes.
And it's not like we're not hard on DC, too.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just going to mention that because I did a couple DC review, New 52 pickup, I called them. And it wasn't all glowing praise for the DC stuff. So I think they just kind of missed out on some things. Which is unfortunate, but that's the nature of podcasts. People, and this is what I do on podcasts too. A new podcast I find, I'll listen to them, probably the most recent episode just to kind of get a feel of it. And if it doesn't totally turn me off, I'll go back and maybe listen to the previous episode that they released, and just kind of see, is this podcast for me? So I can kind of see, I can kind of see this. They found something that they just didn't like about the podcast, and that's fine. I don't expect everybody to love this show, but I kind of feel bad that they didn't experience more of what we really talk about. What I talk about on the show, which I'm critical of DC and Marvel, and I love DC and Marvel stuff at the same time. It just depends on what it is, and not to mention all of the independent stuff, which is I think between the 2 of us, Travis, we've been tending towards more indie stuff, liking more indie stuff,
for sure,
especially in the last year, maybe 2 years.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And yeah, I just have to take, or I just have to disagree with this person's assessment of DC and the New 52 because I'm really not liking the New 52 all that much right now. I don't know about you, Travis.
There are some really, really good spots, and there's a lot of spots that fall short of the mark, for sure.
Yeah. The other bit of feedback I got is just a real quick note that I got from Drew, who said, "Love your show. Congrats on 50. So thank you, Drew. But anyway, I appreciate that feedback. That was really nice to hear. Unsolicited feedback is awesome.
For sure.
All right. Let's see. Enough chit chat. Let's get into some stuff from San Diego Comic-Con. So, Travis, just so you know, it was funny because I was watching watching Twitter. I was keeping up on the news from Twitter and the various comic news websites, and it was really funny. It didn't seem like there were a lot of comic news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con. It seemed like a lot of it was TV and movie stuff.
Yep, for sure.
But then when I went back and I was reading more articles, getting ready for this episode, turns out that there actually were quite a bit of stuff coming out of the various publishers.
Really, actually at the con and not preemptively. So
Well-
that's what I thought was interesting. Was
Well, there
how
was
many-
that, yeah.
How many of the companies release stuff, a week or 2 days before the actual con?
Hmm. Well, and in the case of Image Comics, they had their expo
Right before,
weeks before that. So
2 weeks before.
yeah, it was just them talking about that stuff, but still.
Well, didn't Dynamite do almost all of their announcements like the Tuesday and Wednesday leading up to the? Maybe I'm wrong. It seemed like they were releasing just a ton of stuff, but it was all coming out what it felt like before the actual con was started.
Maybe that's why it felt like there weren't all that many
Yeah,
news items coming directly out of San Diego Comic-Con because they were doing that perhaps. But when I went back and was, like I said, reviewing all the stuff for preparation for this episode, everybody couched it under San Diego Comic-Con. So that's where I'm pulling all this stuff from. So at the very least, if it wasn't announced as a new thing, it was talked about.
Right. Sure.
So I want to just point out those things that caught my attention, and and Travis, feel free to throw anything in here that you see fit to talk about. Let's see. First up, this is in no particular order. IDW talked about the art, one of their new artist edition, and I did bring this up. I wanted to bring this up, Travis, because of your interest in Hellboy. But they're going to do an artist edition of Hellboy.
That's going to be awesome.
Which, I'm pretty sure it's the Mike Mignola stuff.
It is. I went and looked it up after I got your email talking about it, because I missed that announcement. So I went to find out exactly what it was. And yeah, it's the full scan of his original stuff coming out for the Hellboy.
Yeah. Do you have any of those artist editions?
No, I don't. I have friends who do, and they look awesome.
Yeah.
The idea of having this, massive tome basically that has, the full size color copied basically pictures of all the original art. So you get, all the inks, but you get all the pencils, all the blue lines, anything the artist may have scribbled off in the side panel about what was going on or whatever. You get all of that on the page, so you can really see how the art was constructed and whatnot. That's just pretty awesome.
Yeah. I want two of those in particular that they've released, or I think they've released both of them. That the David Mazzucchelli Daredevil run.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I want that. The comic book shop in Spokane has that up on a shelf right above the register. And every time I go to buy my comics there, I see that damn thing, and I so want to buy it.
Yeah, that's an investment though.
Oh yeah. And then the other one was, I think it was John Romita's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
some
I know
of his
people
stuff.
have that. Yeah.
Oh, I want that so bad.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the Hellboy one, but I figured you would be.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
And then the other item from IDW that I wanted to mention is Walt Simonson doing Thor, only not the Thor that you'd probably associate him with. And this
That's interesting.
Yeah, so Simonson's doing something called Ragnarok, which they've done that storyline I think at least twice over in Marvel Comics with Thor, but so it's looking at it has that Norse mythology setting, but Simonson is doing Thor in this series, so I thought that was really interesting. The guy that is really closely associated with the Marvel Thor doing another version of Thor somewhere else.
I think that's smart. I mean, I don't know what his opinion is on it, obviously, and where he's coming to it at. I don't know, is he coming at this thing with the idea of being able to tell something that he couldn't tell with Marvel's version of Thor?
Oh, I bet.
But you're going to get a fan base is going to show up, because there's so many people who like his Thor. They're going to show up to, see what he's doing. I think that's pretty cool.
I'm probably going to check it out. Just because while I like Thor, Marvel's Thor, and Thor: God of Thunder has been a really good title that I've been reading from Marvel now. I would like to see other interpretations of Thor. Do you remember, Travis, in Sandman, where they had a bunch of the mythological
Yep.
pantheons
Yep.
show up, and there
Yep.
was Odin and Thor, and it was a completely different
Oh yeah,
version of both of
right.
those characters.
That Thor's kind of a pinhead, yeah, and
Yeah.
Sandman, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. So ever since then, I've been wanting to see different versions of Thor.
hmm
Anything from IDW from your perspective, Travis?
I don't remember if it was actually announced at San Diego or not, but I'm pretty stoked that IDW is coming out with Samurai Jack. Coming out with 2 Samurai Jack comic books. One is kind of the retelling of the origin of Samurai Jack from the original cartoon, and then the other one is going to tell new stories. And I'm looking forward to reading the new story one because I'm a big Samurai Jack fan. Me and my kids.
Huh. So what? Why would they want to? I don't know. So I missed this one. So is the retelling that you mentioned, is that like a limited series or something? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The retelling is a limited. It's like 4 issues or something like that.
And then will they come out with the other one?
Which they're touching on the regular show, and then there's going to be another book that's ongoing, and it's the art's going to be done by one of the guys who was the original concept artist for the thing, so it's going to definitely have the feel of the show, I think, as far as the way the art looks and stuff. So.
And isn't it IDW where they were going to bring back other cartoon properties in comic book form? Not just Samurai Jack, but I vaguely remember hearing something about some other stuff coming. The Powerpuff Girls and
yeah, they're doing Powerpuff Girls also.
Is that IDW too? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I never really got into either of those cartoon properties.
Yeah, it's I think one of the reasons they're doing it is because there are people who are probably 5-10 years younger than us. That's the cartoons they grew up on,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a market for that to
Sure.
To sell to them. I think is the big thing. So
kind of like how G.I. Joe perhaps was to our generation, although I never really got into that myself.
Yeah.
Or Star Wars, definitely Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope. That's
All
it
right.
for.
Okay. Speaking of announcements before San Diego, let's talk about Image.
Cool.
Let's see. I have just a couple things. One, I think I love this idea, and I love that Image is pushing this. Image started years ago with these artists wanting to do their own thing and kind of pushing the envelope, and this is we can do comics a different way. And here Image again is kind of leading the charge, so to speak, in terms of digital comics, in that they are selling directly from their website DRM-free digital comics.
That's huge.
That's awesome.
I think that's huge. I think that's huge. I think that has ramifications well outside of even comic books potentially.
And so explain that.
Well, okay, one of my issues with digital comics is and lots of digital content, because I'm an old fogey, is I don't really feel like I actually own the product. I mean, at the end of the day, if a server turns off or something, I don't potentially necessarily possess it.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is the stuff that I've bought from Cosmicology, for instance, if I go there, I'm going to them to read it. If they shut down tomorrow, I can't go somewhere to read it anymore. I own it, but I don't own it.
Right.
This I'm going to be able to own. I mean, I can actually physically, well, as much as you physically digitally anything, but I can have it on my hard drive. I can have it, whatever. Then I'm assuming I can give it to you.
Yeah.
I can sell it to you. I can do whatever I want to do with it because I own that copy of the book. And I think that if that's successful enough, if everybody goes, okay, if I'm buying Marvel and DC books from, the main app, but instead of buying my Saga or whatever from the main app, I'm going to literally go to Image and buy it there. And Image, I think, believes that they can that there's 15% this coming next year. They figure 15% of their sales come from digital, which seems like a lot to me.
Yeah.
That I think it'll have an impact. I think people will look at that and go, that's what we should be doing. And maybe more people will move away from, those main Apple apps where they get their books at now. And I don't know that. I'm hoping that will, be a watershed as far as maybe some of these other places selling their products, books and music and other things in a format that is a little more friendly than what we currently have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And obviously, this is great news to me because I'm hoping that that Image is leading the charge, like I said, and others will follow in the comic book realm. Mm-hmm. Comixology will have to adapt or die, right? If this right. catches fire, which I have my doubts about, but I certainly hope the Image keeps doing what they're doing here and maybe getting Marvel and DC. Once you get Marvel and DC on board, everybody's going to do it.
Right.
Comixology will have no choice but like I said, adapt to it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I definitely that's a huge reason why I don't buy more digital comics. Like you said, I don't own it. It's a file that I have to access from somebody else's server, and why would I want to spend my money like that?
Right.
So I would probably buy more digital comics if I could get them DRM free. So good luck, Image. I hope it changes some things in the business.
For sure.
On the business side of things. So. Okay, and then there were a couple announcements. Well, couple discussions, I'll say, not announcements, but coming out of Image that I thought were interesting. So Amy Reeder is doing a creator-owned book called Rocket Girl. Let's see here. It's Amy Reeder and Brandon Montclair. So they had a Kickstarter. This is back in May, mm-hmm. where they had this Kickstarter to do this comic. And so now Image is going to publish it. But, it's let's see, what is the premise here? It's a future young cop. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A teenage cop from a high-tech future is sent back to 1986.
Yeah.
Oh, 1986. That was a good year.
It was a good year, yeah.
And this is the same team that did the Halloween Eve one-shot.
Right.
I don't know did you get that one, Travis?
No, I did not.
I did. It was okay. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just it's kind of it's a sci-fi. I just love that retro title, Rocket Girl.
Right.
It's just
right.
It's like that Brain Boy series that's coming out from, I think it's from Image too. Mm-hmm. No,
that's Dark Horse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Dark Horse. But anyway, it's just, I don't know. I like those kind of retro titles. Anyway, I thought that was cool. The concept seemed interesting, so I'll be checking out the preview for that. Definitely. And then there is Rick Remender is doing a book at Image called Black Science, and the art is by Matteo Scalero and Dean White. And let's see here. It's focusing on the character of Grant McKay, and he's done the impossible, it says. He's deciphered black science and punched through the barriers of reality. But what lay beyond the veil was not epiphany, but chaos. So that just seems really interesting. And there's a preview image here that, again, it's very retro. It's very reminiscent of 1960s science fiction novel covers.
I know all the art in it looks that way. Yeah, that's gonna be. I'm excited for that book.
Yeah,
that looks like it's gonna be cool all around.
Yeah. Although I have to say, Rick, I know there's a lot of Rick Remender fans out there, and maybe you count yourself among them, Travis. But I've not been liking a lot of his mainstream stuff, I guess. So I'm really curious what a creator-owned series from him is going to be like.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Anything else from Image from you, Travis?
actually, they announced quite a few books I thought sounded pretty interesting. I'm really curious about, and it kills me to say it, J. Michael Straczynski's got a couple things coming out that that actually sound interesting to me. I haven't had good feelings towards the guy in a lot of ways for a lot of his stuff. But I'm liking his creator-owned things. I'm really enjoying 10 Grand and stuff like that. So I'm curious. He's doing a book called Alone with Bill. Killing his last name.
Sienkiewicz.
Yeah. That who knows when that's actually going to come out, and that's something I want to kind of touch on briefly about a lot of these image books that are announced. You know, last year they had one of these. They had an Image Expo and they announced a whole bunch of books, right? And 3 or 4 of those books have yet to actually see the light of day. I mean, they actually have coming this fall. Some of those are actually going to come out. So, I mean, they're announcing these books, and when we're ever going to actually see them I think are potentially 2 different things.
Yeah.
You know, some of them they gave release dates for, but this one with Bill, they haven't given a release date for it because it sounds like it's going to be pretty heavy for them to work on. I mean, they're basically they're promising that it's going to deconstruct comic book storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm curious anytime anybody makes that kind of a statement as to what we're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the artist that's on it, that to me, he's, you know, got his own thing anyway. So I'm really curious to see what that's going to be like. I'm excited for when that might come out.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's going to be like. Dream Police is another one that I'm kind of interested in. It's I guess it was a book that was released under somebody else at one point, right? But it's now going to be an Image book that they're going to work on.
Yeah, they're calling it a revival at Image for that book. Yeah.
Yeah. So curious to see what that's gonna be like. Another Rick Remender book that I'm curious about because it sounds to some degree like another book that's already out, Deadly Class, which is basically going to be a school for teenage assassins in training that's set in 1987. Another good year.
What is with this mid-'80s kick?
I don't know. So
everything old is new again, Travis.
Yeah, I think that might be it. But to me, that sounds like there's another. I'm pretty sure it's an Image book that has to do with Was it 5 Weapons? Is that what it's called?
I was just gonna say I think it's 5 Weapons. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. You know.
But that's more of a that's played as more of a comedy, isn't it? Or at least more comedic elements to it.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I quite honestly haven't read it, so I don't know. But I'm curious about this one, just because of the era that it's set in, and this one is supposed to be more of a kind of a personal look at stuff. So
yeah.
You know, curious about that.
Anything else?
And 2 other books, Odyssey, spelled ODY-C, from Matt Fraction and Christian Ward. I like a lot of Matt Fraction's indie work where he just can kind of, you know, go nuts the way he does. And I enjoyed Christian Ward's artwork so much on Infinite Vacation. I'm willing to try anything that he's going to be jumping on. And it's basically, they're going to be retelling Homer's The Odyssey again, which of course has been done before. One of the things about this one is it's set in like interstellar space, and all of the genders have been swapped for the title. So I'm curious to see how that ends up actually playing out.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
And the last one, Southern Bastards, which is written by Jason Aaron and Jason Latour on art. I really enjoyed Scalp from Jason Aaron, so I've been waiting for him to do some other, you know, creator-owned type thing where he's not just working on franchise work, just to see what's there. And that's going to be some sort of crazy, you know, from the South kind of a book. I know he's talked about the fact that the book kind of stems from a lot of the ideas that he had for Scalp that he couldn't really use for Scalp. He's going to use some of that stuff here. So I'm not 100% sure what the book's going to be about, but definitely want to check it out because I'm interested in whatever that, like I said, that Jason's going to be turning out, just because I want to see a new thing as far as that goes.
Okay. I want to touch back on the book by Straczynski and Sienkiewicz. So Straczynski, there's a quote from Straczynski here. Bill doesn't just look outside the box. He lives outside the box, and then he burns the box. So yeah, in relation to Sienkiewicz's doing basically a redesign of how comics are, or looking at how comics are designed, breaking those barriers and stuff. I think Sienkiewicz is one of those guys that can do that and do it well. So yeah, that will be an interesting thing to look at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be looking for that one. All right. Well, that's it from Image, unless you have something else, Travis.
Nope. Well, there's other books, but those are the ones that really caught my eye.
All right. Let's go to Dynamite, which, oh my God, when I was going through making a list of all the things that I wanted to talk about, it's like, Dynamite does this, Dynamite does this, Dynamite's doing this, Dynamite. It's like, what the heck? They're almost like Image to some degree in terms of the properties they're turning out, or at least announcing. Let's see, there's, I don't know too much about these. I just wanted to just to mention them because there's just the sheer number of them. JMS Straczynski is doing a Twilight Zone book through Dynamite. Our Six Gun favorite Colin Bunn is doing a Heroes tie-in to the TV show,
to me.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And they're going to do it like Dark Horse has done with Buffy and Angel, and who is, I think IDW is doing X-Files. They're going to do it like the next season starts in the comic. So it's going to be
right.
I stopped watching Heroes after season 2. I don't even know how it ended.
Same here.
So
Same here.
I don't even know how many seasons it went.
I mean, I understand them doing a Twilight Zone comic because Twilight Zone is a classic. I mean, it's become
enduring.
kind of timeless.
Yeah.
Right. It's timeless. Have yet to consider Heroes that. So yeah, it was to see that was kind of like, well, okay, who's going to buy that? But
Colin Bunn, he's a pretty good writer. So
he's popular right now.
I will not read that comic, but I'm really curious how it will go.
Yeah.
Let's see some other things. Peter Milligan, who was doing Red Lanterns for DC, he's going to do a project called Terminal Hero.
What's that about? Because that's one that I saw that when you sent me the email about. I'm like, I hadn't heard that, and I haven't had time to look it up to see what the heck. I'm a Peter Milligan fan, so
yeah, me too.
I give just about whatever he does at least a shot to see what it's going to be like.
So the description of Terminal Hero, it focuses on one man's struggle against death, reality, and the big questions in life when the action reverberates with twisted versions of reality and the music of Bob Marley.
Really?
The series tells the story of Rory, a kind of man, and I'm reading this from the Comic Book Resources article.
Okay.
Rory, a kind of man who learns that he'll soon die, but an experimental drug treatment that may keep him alive affects his brain in unexpected science-fictional ways. Maybe Mr. Milligan is reaching a little too far there. I don't know. When you start throwing out, like the big ones like struggle against death, reality, and the big questions in life, I start to wonder. It's like, well, that might be a little too much to bite off. So, but then again, if you don't stretch those boundaries, you just get bland stories all the time. So, what do you think? Is that something you're interested in now?
Yeah, morbid curiosity is going to get me to pick it up. Else, so.
And the artist is Jay Lee, so I think that's a great combination.
Yeah. I'll be getting it. I'll be getting it to start out with. There's no doubt I'll be picking up the first couple of issues. Yeah.
Huh. So I hadn't really looked into it in this much detail until just now, Travis. So
yeah,
this sounds pretty good. Let's see. James Robinson is doing his new creator-owned stuff after he's left DC. That much talked about exit from Earth 2.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, after he announced he was leaving Earth 2, he talked about that he has some things in the works. Well, this is one of them. This is Grand Passion. He says it's a departure from what he's been doing. The series is about two wayward characters, Doc and Mabel. One's a cop and the other is a crook, so you get that interesting dynamic, who are fated to fall in love at first sight even as Mabel swears that she'll kill Doc, if it's the last thing that she does. It marries elements of a Harlequin romance with hard-boiled crime, and it takes it off in a direction that's surprising, funny, violent, and sexy. And he says he's very excited to roll up his sleeves and immerse himself in this tale.
And there's no announced artist for it yet, right?
I do not believe so. I don't see anything in here about that.
Yeah, last thing I saw was they didn't have an artist yet for it.
Yeah. But I typically like James Robinson's work. He's got a lot of good stuff under his belt.
I'll give it a shot just because I'm curious. I will be curious to see him write something that he isn't constrained by, a franchise character or that sort of thing. I mean, conversations that I've personally had with him at Emerald City Comic-Con, you can always tell that it always sounds like, he was excited to write about certain stuff, but he was also always frustrated. It seemed like to not 100% be able to tell a story he wanted to tell without having to include other stuff that he didn't necessarily originally want to include in it. So him telling stories where there shouldn't be any of those parameters, I'll be, like I said, I'll be curious to see what he has to say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then finally, from me anyway, from Dynamite, the talk about the Legends of Red Sonja miniseries, which has Gail Simone. I think this month in July, the Red Sonja #1 came out. And the big talk was, Gail Simone doing Red Sonja, and she also was instrumental in getting a bunch of female artists to do the covers for the series.
Right.
So this is similar to that in that this series is going to be written by female writers, including Devin Grayson, Rhianna Pratchett, Leah Moore, Tamora Pierce, Nancy Collins, Mel Jean Brooks, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Mercedes Lackey, and Marjorie Liu or Lau.
Yeah.
Liu. I don't know.
Some big name female authors there.
Yeah. So they're going to be doing various stories about Red Sonja in this miniseries. So it's right. I think right now it's planned to be 4 issues, though it may be extended to 5, according to the publisher of Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at an early November release. I don't know that there's any talk of artists. No, not at this point.
Yeah.
So just all the writers. Travis, did you pick up Red Sonja?
I have not.
I did, but I haven't read it yet. I haven't got it in the mail yet.
I guess I couldn't bring myself to get it.
Why not?
I don't know. Nothing about Red Sonja really appeals to me.
Not even the fact that Gail Simone's writing it?
No, that would be the only thing that made it appeal to me. And of course, I gave Gail a hard time at the last con I was at about it, but I don't know.
She has assured us that this is going to be a kick-ass comic.
Right. Right.
I did order it just to see what Gail Simone would do with it. Otherwise, Red Sonja has never been a character that I've cared about at all. So
yeah. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be a little less cheesecake because Gail's writing it, but I'm assuming it's still going to be this standard barbarian type story, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I've picked up some Conans in the past, but was solely based on the creators that were on it because Becky Coolin was doing artwork on it, and Brian Wood was writing it, and I was more interested in the art than the writing per se, because I mean, it's a story that's already been told. If I want to read the story, I can go get the book, but I wanted to see the cool art. If the Red Sonja book had an artist that was doing it that I was interested in, I would have been probably more inclined to pick it up than just with Gail just writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think she's gonna. I mean, I'm nothing against Gale. I don't think she's going to do something that's so revolutionary with the character that it's still not going to be a barbarian story where they, ride in and, beat up the whatever tribe and, she's going to kick ass and whatnot. And as a whole, I'm just not that interested in that kind of a story. So
yeah,
that's why I didn't get it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I had the same feelings, but it's Gail Simone, so I decided to give her a chance on this. Although I have to say, I gave her a chance on The Movement, and I dropped that real quick.
Yeah.
But to be fair, part of it was I don't care for the artist either.
Yep.
I don't like his style, but the story itself was just this is not going anywhere that I am interested in. So
yeah, agreed.
I don't think I'll be collecting Red Sonja, but I'll have a few issues in my tucked away in my comic boxes. But at the end of this, but I may pick up the Legends of just to see the various stories that are part of this. And,
that has more of an anthology feel, and I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and support more female writers, and hopefully they'll get more jobs elsewhere too, right?
Right. Yeah, but some of those people that are listed off there and named, they have jobs. It's not like.
Oh, sure.
It's not like Mercedes Lackey is scrambling
that's true.
for comic jobs. I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean.
Well, but maybe this is a way for her to do more comic work.
Sure.
Perhaps. All right. Do you have any other news from Dynamite?
No.
Okay. Let's move on to DC. This will be real quick because hardly anything coming out of San Diego that I saw from DC. I guess the only bit of news that I thought was remotely interesting that was new to me was this announcement of a new Harley Quinn series by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti.
Uh-huh.
And I saw today, Travis, you were talking on Twitter with somebody about this, about how. Well, you describe it. What's Harley Quinn going to be doing in that first issue?
Well, the first issue, my understanding is every page is going to be drawn by a different artist, and Harley will be talking and or critiquing that page as the book goes along. So absolutely and completely breaking the fourth wall. I mean, not even kind of breaking the fourth wall. It's just going to be absolutely breaking the fourth wall. Yeah. For the first issue.
Don't you find that a bit odd, though? I mean, Harley Quinn has never really been that kind of a character, so why are they doing that now?
What do you mean she's never really been that kind of character? You mean kind of a
breaking the fourth wall character like Burns She-Hulk or Ambush Bug?
But I can see how she easily could be. She's rife with comedy, right? I mean, at least my experience with her, and it's limited to the animated stuff, and I collected Gotham City Sirens. She personally is rife with comedy. I mean, I don't know how she is in the New 52. I only picked up a couple issues of Suicide Squad.
Oh. Yeah, go on. I'll talk about that in a second because it's worth noting.
But the character for a lot of people, she's rife with comedy. She in the animated thing, she hops around on a pogo stick and has a giant mallet. So I can easily see them using the character in this way, having her making a comic where she is light, potentially joyful and fun, if that's what they choose to do. And I'm not 100% sure if that's how this book is always going to be. I'm not 100% clear on that. The reason I came across that is because I was digging around trying to figure out what the book was going to be really about, because on a YouTube hangout I had last night, there were people who were commenting that they thought maybe it was going to be like a Hawkeye-ish kind of a book where it's told in a different style about her personally. And so I'm not 100% sure what the book is really going to be about. But I can see them doing that. But I don't know that matches up with the Suicide Squad version of it.
I don't think so at all. Because I got the first, several issues. I don't remember how many. it was over a year, I think, of Suicide Squad that I got. And Harley Quinn was portrayed very differently from like you mentioned before about the TV series and even her appearances in the New 52 comics. She was a bit more comedic than she was portrayed in Suicide Squad, I think.
Right.
So it's just to see, and this Harley Quinn series could be not that Harley Quinn in the New 52. It could be an outside of continuity version of her, and that's fine. But if it is the in continuity version, that's a total disconnect to me in terms of what this character's about.
What I read from what Jimmy said is that they want it to be a fun comic that you could pick it up and have a fun time with. So it doesn't strike me as being about the personal inner demons of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can make that fun too. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'll be checking it out just out of curiosity. I don't know how excited I am by that first issue though. Nothing frustrates me more than having inconsistent art, and that feels like it's a setup for inconsistent art.
Yeah,
and a gimmick. I mean, that's the other thing too.
Yeah. So what beyond first issue? What does that get us with having all those artists?
Right. Well,
they're not all.
I don't know that we know who the artist is.
Yeah, it's a weird. Yeah, it's a weird announcement, I think. But
I mean, I was giddy when I first heard about it because when it was, I was at work when it was announced, and people were sending me messages about it, and I was giddy because when I first heard about it, it sounded to me like it was, that Amanda Conner was going to be drawing the whole book too. And
that's what I thought too.
And I'm like, oh, that's going to be awesome. But I mean, I know that she, as a creator, has a hard time with a monthly series. That's why she quit doing Power Girl back in the day, and that was such a great book. She quit doing it because she just physically could not keep up with that schedule for a long period of time, and without her health dipping, and I don't want her to have to deal with that. So I was kind of surprised to hear that, and then to hear that really she's writing and doing the covers, which I'm interested in the two of them writing a story together. I think the two of them personally are an interesting couple, and I think that they could probably write really interesting stuff. So, and she's given partial credit on writing of the Silk Spectre, for those people who don't hate the Before Watchmen stuff, and I haven't read that yet, but I've heard nothing but good stuff about that. So that was
one of the better of those Before Watchmen series.
Yeah,
and so, mostly for her artistic contribution. I don't know how much the writing of it she did, but I thought that was a better one because she was involved in it.
Yeah. So I'll be checking it out, but yes, I do have my doubts as to what is beyond number one, because we can see number one as being kind of a gimmick. What is beyond that? So.
Mm-hmm. Then the other thing that, it's not really a new thing or even that big of a deal, but mostly they talked about more Forever Evil stuff. Their big company crossover event that's coming up here later this year. The Forever Evil, which I will get. I don't know how much I'm going to like it, but the only thing there's two things about this I just wanted to mention. One is basically the tagline for this Forever Evil stuff is that evil wins. Where we heard that before from DC, just recently. Do you remember?
No. It
was the Final Crisis stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Evil wins, and now they're doing that again. And it's like what within 3 years, I'll say. It's just odd that they're
same tagline
repeating themselves so early, or it's so close together.
It doesn't feel like a repeat to me though, Eric.
No. I'm not suggesting that.
Different, other than the tagline, I guess.
Yeah. And then the other thing I want to mention about that is that so they have the main series. I think it's 7 or 8 issues they're doing.
That's 7, I think. Yeah.
And then they're going to have a bunch of tie-in miniseries, right?
Sure.
The only one I'm interested in is this Rogues Rebellion, because you have I assume it's the Flash Rogues or some combination of Rogues, but they're not interested in what's going on with all the villains teaming up to take over.
Evil stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which they did that too during the Final Crisis. They had a Rogues miniseries where Captain Cold wanted nothing to do with what was going on at that time. Mm-hmm. Like what? So besides the repetitive nature, they
have all these new readers, though.
I guess besides the seemingly repetitive nature of this, I do like that idea of not all villains are willing to come together and defeat the forces of good. Some are just not interested in that kind of stuff. So that, from a storytelling standpoint, that interests me.
Yeah. So the difference between the megalomaniacs that want to take over the world and those that really are just career criminals trying to make a buck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
actually looking forward to the whole Forever Evil thing just because it'll be it's the official first actual event since the New 52.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure what Trinity War
was supposed to be that, but somehow that got changed into... Yeah. So Trinity War will happen, and that's in the Justice League books. But as I understand it, what comes out of Trinity War will lead directly into Forever Evil.
Right. But I don't know about any of the spin-off books. I haven't looked too hard at them or know that I'm that interested in getting those. I tend to get really frustrated with the side books lots of times, so I don't know that I'm going there.
Are you going to get Forever Evil as it's being released? Wow.
Yeah.
Travis, that's a sea change.
Well, no, it's not. I'll be getting it, but that doesn't mean you won't hear me every week going, "Oh, this just sucks" or whatever. Because of course, I am with event books. So
yeah, exactly.
But I'm curious. I'm curious from a company standpoint and that sort of stuff. I as much as I hate them, I still buy them every once in a while just to see what they're going to do. And so
I was just going to ask you that. What was the last event book that you bought from beginning to end?
Flashpoint.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So you skipped all of the
I got 3 issues into Avengers versus X-Men, and I absolutely could not take it anymore. I hear it got better, maybe, but by issue 3, I was like, I cannot believe someone talked me into buying this damn thing. So, and I was buying it off the shelf at cover price. Because of course it was an event book, so I didn't pre-order it. And no.
That wasn't me that talked you into it, right?
No. It was the comic community at a large. It wasn't anyone particular. Everybody that I knew was getting it and talking about it, so I thought I better pick it up and look at it so I could talk about it too, other than just going, event books suck.
Yeah.
So I got 3 issues in and justifiably said event books suck and have not touched another one since.
Oh my God. All right.
And after it took 10 issues of the Ultron book before
Age of Ultron.
Yeah, before anyone said it was good. So see, that's the kind of stuff that just makes me happy I don't touch most of those things. So.
Yeah. Wow. I talked about Age of Ultron a little bit on the YouTube reviews, so I'm not going to go into that here. But Forever Evil, I'm looking forward to it just to see, like you said, same reasons, just to see what.
Well, and the reason I'm picking it up is because, of course, I get all the Justice League books. I don't know that 100% in the Justice League books things are going to get finalized. I mean, they'll come to some conclusion there, but obviously it sounds like it's spinning out to the Forever Evil thing. So it just feels like I need to get that Forever Evil thing to finish the story, the conversation, as it works.
Yeah, probably. That's true. All right. Anything from DC from you, Travis?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Marvel. Let's end with, we'll talk about the Eisners in a minute, but let's end with the publisher side of stuff from Marvel. Actually, quite a bit of stuff that I was interested in, or at least wanted to point out, coming out of Marvel. So they had this thing from the Ultimate side, which is Cataclysm, which, as I understand it, is the end of Brian Michael Bendis' and Bagley's Ultimate Universe run, and perhaps maybe even the end of the Ultimate Universe. At least that's what the comic book community seems to be buzzing about.
Yeah. Are you getting hunger?
No.
Okay.
No, but I know of it.
Yeah.
I
There are people that are thinking that might be the end. That potentially could be the end of the universe too, because
Mm-hmm.
because Galactus has split through has ended up in the Ultimate Universe and bonded with the equivalent of Galactus there, and I don't know.
Yeah. And I guess Cataclysm is basically the Ultimate Universe going up against Galactus. So I'm not quite sure what Hunger is going to be about in the end, if they're still battling him in Cataclysm. So it's a weird thing. But anyway, I don't have a horse in the game, as they say, or how that phrase goes. But because I don't read any of the Ultimate comics. I think I've read a total of no, I'm thinking of the movies that Marvel did, the Ultimate movies the animated movies they came out with several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I watched those. I read one issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, and I read the Spider-Men miniseries when it came out in trade just recently, and that's it. So I
have a hard enough time keeping track of the regular universe for me to take on a whole other universe too. So I haven't read any of the stuff from there.
Okay, so there's that. As far as the 616 Marvel universe, the regular universe, we have they teased the return of Marvel Man during one of these panels.
Of course.
Saying that they haven't forgotten about him.
Yeah,
although whatever. Travis, I will admit, once they bring Marvel Man into the Marvel universe, I will be definitely checking it out to see what that's all about. Just based on, and this may come back to bite me, but based on the Miracle Man series that Alan Moore did, all those years ago.
Right.
And if it's the same kind of character,
it won't be.
I'm sure it won't. They'll have to tweak it to fit, but if the basic character premise is the same, but the way that Moore amped it up in that Miracle Man series, I'd like to see how that would work in the Marvel universe. And then there's going to be some new Now number ones coming in January, so I guess that's phase 2 of Marvel Now. But I don't know that they've made any specific announcements, other than a couple things that I'm going to talk about here. Did you hear anything else about these new number ones?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'll wait for you to talk and see if you announce the ones that I would.
Okay.
The only ones I heard about. So.
Before I get to those new things, I just wanted to point out, because you and I read Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So number 14 will conclude the first year-long arc that the creators on that book have been working on, and so then I presumably number 15 will start this new arc. So I just wanted to mention that I've been enjoying that book, and it's really interesting. We used to get that trade collection storylines, 5 or 6 issues per storyline that they could easily then trade. But now, Marvel hasn't been going by that necessarily. And obviously Young Avengers is one of those books. So 14 issues for a year's worth of stories as the first arc, I think that's pretty cool that they're doing it that way.
Huh. I guess I never considered it that way. I always thought that they had that, 1 or 2 issues ago, they didn't solve their problem, but it felt like it had kind of
a resolution
to the immediate problem. They got away from, crazy alternate reality, space parasite mom, and, to kind of move on to the next step of figuring out how they're going to deal with all that.
Yeah.
But I guess you're right. It is all one big arc, but I would think that that's going to be a break where they're going to make a trade ad. But
yeah, I agree. I thought of that too, and so I'm wondering, because obviously we haven't read those issues, so it'd be interesting to get to issue 14 and then look back through the previous 13 issues to see, is this really a cohesive arc, or is it a couple trade collections that have some ties to each other. I don't know.
Because what they're doing right now in the book doesn't feel like it's anything to do with the stuff that was going on in the first thing. I mean, they got another can of worms that's happened, and they feel like they're being really reactive to what's currently going on, not proactive to what their long-term goal is. So
what's going on, like as you alluded to, what's going on right now is, is that an interlude or is that a break for the story? I don't know, but I'm
loving
curious.
I'm loving that book. I love that book.
Well, especially
that book is becoming one of my favorite books to read.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of fun.
I'm not totally on board with how you're seeing it, but I see the potential for it, which is why I picked it up in the first place. Mm-hmm. But that latest, the last issue that I read, which was the first half of July comics that I read, I don't remember what number that is right off the top of my head, but where you have the two characters that are working for that one company.
Right.
I don't know if that's the latest issue, but that was
there's another issue just came out.
Okay, so I'll get that next week.
This last week, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but that was just a hoot.
It was hilarious.
I really enjoyed that story.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, so here's a couple new series that are coming out, and first up is they're going back to the well on Wolverine's origin.
Oh, jeez.
I kind of figured you'd have that reaction. So I guess Wolverine Origin 2 or Part 2, I don't know what they're calling it, but anyway.
What would comics be like if they suddenly took out Batman and Wolverine?
Dogs and cats living together.
Yeah.
Total chaos. That's a great question. I don't know how to answer that, Travis.
Sorry, another Wolverine book. Holy cow!
I know how many. Yeah, Wolverine.
He's got a lot of solo titles,
God,
doesn't he?
Yes.
Not to mention.
Go ahead.
Most of them seem to be kind of about his origin or about him by him. I mean, I don't know. Cool, I guess. Well, you're a Wolverine fan? Awesome.
Yeah. Well, not to mention all the Avengers and X-Men books that he's in. Right.
Like, and don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Wolverine. I actually like the character, but I don't like him enough that I want to be reading that many books about him, though. So.
Yeah. Okay, and then here's the one I think that you're hoping that I'm going to mention: Amazing X-Men.
Yeah.
Featuring the return of Firestar, but really more importantly, Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler's coming back.
Yeah. How long's he been dead?
I have no idea. I was going to look that up. I don't know. And you know what? I did not know that he was even dead for a while after he died. Because I didn't read a lot of Marvel comics for several years. And then suddenly, I don't know. I was reading something or somebody mentioned it to me that Nightcrawler was dead. I'm like, what? Nightcrawler?
Right. Well, yeah, that happened when I wasn't reading comics. I came back into comics and I'm, reading comics. And I can't remember, I was having a conversation with somebody and they said that he was dead. And I was like, what? It was kind of like, it was a surprise.
Yeah.
But
so what do you think about that, Travis?
Well, about Nightcrawler coming back?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I mean, it's about time. A lot of people love that character. I can't believe they killed him in the first place, quite honestly.
Well, I can't believe. I'm assuming that Nightcrawler's been out of the Marvel universe for a while. I don't know how long that is, but it seems like it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it's taken this long to bring him back.
But I'm kind of happy that he has been dead for a much more significant amount of time than, like, let's say Johnny Storm, where, oh no, he's dead, and then 2 issues later he's back or something.
Well, it's a little bit longer than that, but yeah.
Well, okay, but some deaths feel much cheaper than other deaths. Even if you're going to fake the death, I really feel like it needs to be long enough for it to feel like it was actually happened, or do it right away and it was always smoke and mirrors from the beginning, kind of a thing, I guess. But that's a whole other conversation about death in comic books. So, no, I'm cool with that. I've always liked the Nightcrawler character. So, I question the name. But I question a lot of the Marvel books names now. Amazing X-Men. So they just use the same adjectives to throw in front of, and they just right now the new thing for Marvel now is just to change those around. So it's Uncanny Avengers, and it's not Amazing Spider-Man. It's Amazing X-Men, and I don't know, just.
So not a fan of the title.
Well, to me, it seems like they could come up with something more interesting, other than to make it confusing. And to me, that if you're a long-term fan, to me that just it seems to muddy the waters, and that's how I feel about it as far as the title goes. It just I don't know, but I've been frustrated with a lot of the titles for the Marvel lately.
Mm-hmm.
Not the books themselves, but just the names of them. I don't understand why they. I mean, I do, but I don't like it. I guess. Who else is going to be in this book? Do you have any idea?
Besides Firestar?
Yeah, and Nightcrawler.
Oh gosh. Hold on one second.
And I'm curious as to what the premise is. What's the point of this group of people versus all the other groups of X-Men or Avengers that are out there? Or are they going to be the counterpart to Mighty Avengers?
What do you mean, Mighty Avengers?
Well, isn't that the other book that's coming out here fairly soon?
Yeah,
Mighty
yeah.
Avengers, whatever?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I just, you got to kind of keep the books equal. So all the Avenger and X-Men books. I know Jason Aaron's writing it.
Yeah,
so
Jason Aaron's writing it.
That's a perk as far as I'm concerned.
Ed McGuinness is doing the art.
Art.
For those that like McGuinness's art, I'm not one of them. He's okay. Okay, here's the rest of the team. Iceman, Storm, Beast, North Star, and Firestar, like I said.
I don't know that.
Those are the confirmed members, it says.
I don't know that I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
That grouping of characters doesn't interest me. I mean, beyond Nightcrawler's back, that I don't know.
It says
Ed
here
McGuinness.
that
I'm trying to think of what Ed McGuinness has done lately. Is he the one that started out doing Thunderbolts? This latest?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
See, Nightcrawler, it says here he lost his life. It says way back, I'm looking at IGN, an article on IGN.com, way back during Second Coming, although I don't know what that means. I don't know when that was. So you have to be an X-Men fan to know what that means. Okay. All right. That's it for Marvel for me. Anything else, Travis?
Nope.
All right. Let's talk about some of the Eisner winners. So they presented the Eisner Awards at San Diego Comic-Con, and the big winner in my mind here, because this title won a couple categories, and the writer won for his work on this, and Saga was the big winner here. So
Is that a surprise?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Best continuing series for Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Best new series was Saga. And like I said, let's see here. I don't know if it's just best writer or what. I'm trying to find it. I'm looking at, best writer, Brian K. Vaughan, Saga. And then the other thing I wanted to note, because you and I are such big fans of this, but Hawkeye, while it didn't win in those categories that I just mentioned, but David Aja won for best penciler. Oh, it's a tie. I didn't notice this. Best penciler / inker, there's a tie for David Aja on Hawkeye.
Yeah, and Chris Samney.
Chris Samney on Daredevil and his work on Rocketeer. Or maybe they're just listing the stuff.
They're listing the stuff he's done. They're listing the work he's done, not in particular. But just.
So yeah, both of them are great at what they do. So I thought that was. Best cover artist, David Aja also won for that, for his work on Hawkeye.
Right.
Which well deserved there. Although, man, Yuko Shimizu, whose work on Unwritten has been top notch and consistent for the entire 51 issues that have come out so far.
Right. Well,
and Shimizu does not get enough credit for the art that is on those covers. So I just want to point that out.
Definitely.
Anything of the Eisners that you wanted to mention?
I noticed that Dave Stewart won yet another Eisner for coloring.
Yeah,
he's an awesome colorist.
Yeah,
I mean, he really is. I mean, the second we start talking colorists, he's the first person I want to mention because I do just think that he is outstanding, and that's why he's won as many as he's won. I mean, he's won just a ton of them. I think I'm trying to remember. I don't want to open my mouth before I'm talking about. Didn't Becky Coolan win one for? Maybe not. I thought she did. For, God, I don't remember what it was now. I'm looking because best single issue.
Yes.
She won for the Meyer.
Yeah.
Which I've enjoyed all of those. I've bought all of those books from her. Her little self-published things. I thought that was pretty cool that she won for that and is getting more recognition. I really like her as an artist, so I was happy to see that. I'm hoping that win continues to open more doors for her to do stuff that she wants to do. So excited by that. But yeah, the obvious, Saga winning as much as they did, that doesn't really surprise me. I pretty much figured they were going to win every category they got in for, just about. So
I also wanted to point out, I haven't read this yet, but it's on my to buy list, and that is, where is it? I'm scrolling through the page here, and I'm messing my. There it is. Building Stories by Chris Ware. That won quite a few things.
Yeah.
As well. I first heard about Building Stories. I was listening to some podcast. I can't remember which one now, but they made mention of Building Stories, and I looked it up on Amazon, and I immediately added it to my want list because it just looks really, really cool.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And just we talked before about Sienkiewicz, breaking the barriers of what's on a comic book page. Mm-hmm. Chris Ware's Building Stories, I think, does the same thing. So I really want to read that book. I want to get that and read that because it just looks phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Unless, Travis, you have something else comic book related, we'll move on to some other things before we finish out the episode.
Nope. Not got anything.
All right. So there's a couple things from the media side of San Diego that I wanted to mention. Let's talk about some TV stuff. Just a few things.
Sure.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will debut September 24th on ABC. Are you going to watch that?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
I'm going to watch it. I'm excited for it. I still wish it was a full-on superhero. See, I don't feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is a full-on superhero thing. You know what I mean? I mean, because I don't know if they'll be in uniforms or not, but it's not the same as somebody flying around with a cape and being a superhero,
right?
Which is what I'm still hoping for. I'm still hoping at some point we're going to get an honest to God superhero show.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it'll ever actually really happen because I don't know if people will accept it without thinking that it has to be like the old Batman TV show. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I mean,
well, the reason I had doubts was because of Joss Whedon's involvement in the pilot that they're gonna air.
We'll see. Depends on how much of his quote unquote humor gets put in it.
But as I understand it, he's just helping the show get developed and out there, and then because he's busy doing the next Avengers movie,
right?
Which we'll talk about in a minute or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that he's going to be directly involved in anything going forward in the show. I could be wrong about that, but
right. Well, the trailers I saw for it look awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, there's going to be people running around with superpowers, whether they're wearing costumes or not. There's still going to be people running around with superpowers. I'm in. I'm in until it tells me I shouldn't be in. Until it does something stupid and I can't take it. But.
Yeah. What are going to be the Easter eggs that they're going to throw in for us fans?
Right.
Even if someone's not in a costume and calling themselves, whatever Marvel character they are, maybe they show up out of costume and we get to know that. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's probably one of the only new TV shows coming up that I will actually try and watch because I don't watch a whole lot of TV anymore. In fact, I basically gave up on Arrow after 3 or 4 episodes.
What?
I have all of them still recorded. I just haven't watched them. And I just don't. Nothing is telling me, hey, Eric, you should really watch this show. Are you going to tell me that, Travis?
I like the show.
Oh, okay.
I think it's gotten better. I think every episode
really?
gets better. Yeah, I think so.
Don't tell me that.
I mean, now is it awesome? No.
Yeah.
Come on, it's a CW production. It's not going to be, it still follows some of those tropes. But I mean, that was interesting. They ended the season with, well, you don't want to know because you're going to watch it.
Yeah, don't spoil it just in case.
Okay.
Okay. If you're telling me that it's pretty good and it got better from the first few episodes. I will make an effort to.
I enjoyed it, but you got to remember it's based on Green Arrow, so my views may be tainted somewhat. But no, I thought it got interesting.
Okay. Speaking of Green Arrow, I didn't mention this during the DC talk, but there was some bits about them talking about who's writing Green Arrow right now. Is it Fialkov?
No, Jeff Lemire is.
Oh, Lemire. Sorry. So I saw some bits where he was talking about Green Arrow, and they're going to be bringing in some characters from the show into the comic. Did you hear about that?
Into the mainstream comic?
Yeah. That was my understanding.
Who the hell would they do? There's nobody in the TV show that makes sense to be in the book, because they all play different roles than they would in the
Well, what about the character Diggle?
Okay, he could show up, but I don't know how he makes sense in the book, because the character Diggle in the TV show is a Queen's bodyguard. Queen doesn't have anything right now. He has absolutely nothing. I mean, he doesn't have an industry. He doesn't have. I mean, he's a wanted man. So I don't know where is he going to get a body? I don't know. That's an interesting statement, because I don't see how those characters would work. I mean, I'll trust Jeff to put something in that makes sense, because I've really, really enjoyed the book since he's taken it over. But I don't. That's interesting. I'll have to go hunt that down now, that piece of news nugget, to see exactly what was said, because that I don't see where any of those characters fit in.
And speaking of fitting in, so they had the Arrow digital first based on the TV show. But then when Lemire came on to Green Arrow, it seemed to be taking on a lot more of the elements from the TV show.
No? I don't think so. Well, it's closer to taking on elements from like Green Arrow Year One.
Oh, okay.
Than it does that. And the TV show derives a lot of the basics from that Green Arrow Year One also, I think.
Oh, okay.
The island and what it did to Ollie plays a more important role, I think, than what in the past it used to.
Yeah.
You know, the way in the past that was just part of Green Arrow. He spent some time on an island. He fought some guys with a bow, blah blah blah, and gets off the island. Whereas then when Annie Digley wrote that Green Arrow Year One, what happened on that island plays a more significant role in why he's the way he is in a lot of ways. So that's where the two are somewhat close together. But other than them being young, him not having facial hair and that sort of thing, I really don't think that the main title that's in the book meshes up with the and the stuff that and the fact the island's an important factor in some sense or another. And Ollie's dad in the comic book wasn't as straightforward and the man he seemed to be, just like in the TV show. Ollie's dad is not the man that he seemed to be, but they really aren't that close.
Okay.
I don't think. So they can argue that point with me.
I've just been meaning to ask you about that, because I obviously I don't read either of those comics, and I just thought it was weird that my impression, like I said, was that the main title seemed to be taking on more elements from the TV show, but then why would you have a digital first comic that is about the TV show at the same time? It just seemed a weird publishing choice to me, but if you say it's different, then okay.
Yeah, they're different, and of course the Arrow digital book is titled Arrow, so you're going to get people who don't read comics that might poke their nose into that comic because it's a tie-in to the TV show,
mm-hmm.
but would have no idea that Green Arrow is the same thing as Arrow and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So I don't.
Oh yeah. This is not San Diego Comic-Con related, but since you're here, Travis, I wanted to ask you about some of the new animated TV shows that, superhero related, that are out right now or have debuted recently, like Teen Titans Go, was it Beware the Batman, and the new Avengers Assemble. Are you watching any of those?
Yeah.
What do you think of these?
Teen Titans Go is fun to watch in very, very, very small doses for me.
Oh, yes.
Every once in a while. Does not those were cute. I guess the Teen Titans Go, this version of it, was cute when it was the little goofy thing in between
The shorts.
like the shorts.
Yeah.
That was fine because it was just that. But a half hour of that, I don't really care. It's not like it was like the old Teen Titans Go, which actually had some content, actually had some story content. You know, it had funny moments because it was a cartoon and they did like to have funny moments in it, but it still had, the old one still had some actual level of a plot and whatnot.
Yep.
Whereas this is just
These are one-off jokes for
Right,
for half an hour.
for half an hour. So I'm not really interested in that.
No, wait, before you go on,
Okay.
I will admit, so I've watched a few of them. I watched the first one with my kids, and Madison in particular loves it. She wants to
Sure.
watch it all the time.
Sure.
I was turned off, quite frankly, by it, for the reasons that you stated. I just,
Mhm.
you know how much I love the Titans to begin with, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and for them to do that to the Titans just really irks me. But I understand it.
Well, I'd rather watch the Teen Titans Go than read the Teen Titans comic book.
Well, yeah, you have a point there. But what I did like about Teen Titans Go is that not what's going on as far as the quote unquote story that you're watching, but
Mhm.
if you look at the background and you see all these great, I call them Easter eggs, but I don't know how much they're really Easter eggs, but you see all these little bits that relate to the DC universe.
Right.
That I find interesting.
Well, there obviously is a segment of the population that likes the cartoon. Your kids and whatnot obviously like the cartoon. My daughter, she'll sit through it. She loves it. She thinks it's funny. So it's just not made for us.
Yeah, not really.
Right. Which I guess is okay. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's fine.
Bring
I
in
mean,
the, bring in the younger.
If that moves that next generation to decide to read a comic book, then that's all the better too.
Yeah.
So
What about the other two?
I watched probably 10 minutes of the Avengers thing. I just don't care for it at all. I don't understand that. It seems to me like Marvel gets a pretty decent cartoon, and then they choose after like a season to continue to dumb it down.
Yeah,
Is what it feels like to me, and I don't understand that. So
yeah. The last one was it Earth's Mightiest Avengers. That was actually pretty good.
yeah, and they just basically canceled that, stripped it down even further, and made this. It's
Yeah.
to me is what it feels like. So I don't know. So I don't really have anything to say about it other than
Yeah,
I don't care.
I've only watched a couple of the episodes because I have to watch them with girls,
Right.
and they're not always available to watch that stuff with me. So it's slow going when I watch these cartoons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you about what Marvel's doing there. What about Beware the Batman?
As a whole, I like it. I think the characterization of Alfred is atrocious.
What?
Atrocious. It is the
Wow.
most horrible.
You're crazy.
Horrible. No, I am not. I will line up Batman fans to tell you how horrific this version of Alfred is. First off, I hate the animation of him. He's as big and beefy as Batman is.
Bigger.
Which is yeah, I know. That's absurd. And I don't care for him. I don't care for him at all. Matter of fact, one of the people I've talked with about it, he thought that, he's like, I thought that, what's this? Ra's al Ghul has a bodyguard. What's the guy's name?
Yeah.
That's what Alfred reminded him of.
Mm.
That he was more like Ra's al Ghul's bodyguard than he was Alfred.
Yeah.
I just don't care for him. I don't care for
Is
him.
it Ubu? I think it's Ubu.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I hate the characterization of Alfred. My
Oh.
entire family hates the characterization.
Wow. See, I think Alfred is one of the better things about this show.
Oh no.
I like how I agree with you about the body type. That seems wrong, but I like that he's a former MI6 agent.
Oh, that's fine.
I like that he's constantly challenging Bruce to be better, and so that he's more protected when he goes out and does this crazy ass stuff as Batman.
He doesn't feel steeped in being a butler at all.
Yeah.
See, I hate that. I hate that.
See, I like
see,
that.
I like
It's a
Alfred.
nice departure.
No. See, it's not. It's not. Alfred's one of the constants you don't screw with. You can screw with a lot of things. You don't screw with Alfred. You don't. No, that's an awful part of the book, of the cartoon.
Okay. What do you think about Katana coming into it?
her position right now is weird. I'll be curious to see. I'm looking forward to her actually being, becoming or being Katana and what kind of roles she actually plays in the thing. I hope she's a decent supporting character. I was happy to see Barbara. I haven't watched Yesterday's yet.
I haven't either.
But I've watched them. I'm happy to see Barbara show up in the thing. That's kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I like it as a whole. That's not my favorite style of animation. I'm just not a real big fan of computer animation. I much rather have, I don't know what you want to call it.
Traditional animation, yeah.
Traditional animation as opposed to, the 3D stuff. I hate to use the description, it looks like a video game at times, because that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it feels lifeless in the same way that some video game action does.
Ooh, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, lifeless. It doesn't seem to have a lot of depth to it. It's just
because there are lots of really gorgeous video games out there. So I hate saying it looks like a video game, because that's not an insult to our generation and younger. I mean, that's a lot of stuff's that way. But it just there's moments of lifelessness to it that I think you don't have that is in that style of animation versus hand drawn or whatever the hell you want to call it, the traditional animation. Mm-hmm. So
okay,
but I mean, I've watched 3 episodes. It seems fine. It's a younger Batman, but he's not totally naive. But he gets his ass beat a hell of a lot in this. But I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's not anything that I'm riveted to. It's not deep. There's not some gripping story that I think was like in some of the other animated stuff that DC has put out recently. So
yeah, it's no Young Justice, that's for sure.
Right, but I don't know. I don't dislike it. Other than Alfred, I hate Alfred.
Okay, well, let's have to agree to disagree on that one.
That's fine. Could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on and we'll get out of here. Let's talk about some movies. So again, DC, there was some talk about Flashpoint Paradox and the next one that's coming, which is Justice League War. And the reason I want to point this out, so Flashpoint Paradox will come out the week that this episode is released. And of course I will buy it, because I buy all the DC animated movies.
Uh-huh.
But it's, okay, one, it's interesting to me that they're telling the pre-New 52, well, the prelude to the New 52 story, which is Flashpoint. And so when they announced that, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So does that mean that we're going to get, from that point on, get movies that are set in the New 52? Because up until now, it's just been certain stories, like The Dark Knight Returns and some of the storylines from Superman, Batman, or Justice League or whatever. So basically retelling these, some of them pivotal, but definitely some fan favorite stories in the animated movie form. But now we're going to be getting, and I did read up on this, Justice League War is going to be the adaptation of the first 6 issues of Justice League, New 52 Justice League. So we're going to get Flashpoint Paradox, which introduces us to the whole idea of the New 52 universe, and then move on into telling stories from the New 52 universe, which I don't know what to think about that just yet. I mean, obviously it depends on how good the adaptations are, but at the same time, it's like there's so many other really good stories that they haven't told from DC's past that they could tell. Why are they moving forward with this?
Circling the wagons.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. They're just
circling the wagons. They're making sure all of their content is as much as possible is all telling the same consistent story. That way I don't put in one of those movies and see my Oliver Queen running around as Green Arrow, looking all awesome and acting cool, and going, what the hell happened? That's why. I think it's really unfortunate. And the idea of making a movie of the first 6 issues of the current Justice League book, oh my God, how boring can you get? Because I didn't like the first 6 issues. That was, by the time that was done, I was thankful it was over with and was hoping we could go on with something interesting.
Oh, see,
I don't know.
I actually did like that, but I mean,
you want to see a movie of it?
Well, see, that's just it. It's so new. I mean, it's 2 years old, right? And they're going to do a movie of it. I don't know. It seems too soon to do that. But
why read a comic book? I can just wait for the movies.
But I understand why they're doing that. I
Right.
guess I understand from a production standpoint why they're doing that. But I just hope that they don't ignore all those previous things that they haven't done that they could do from the past, and instead do just New 52 related stories.
Well, here's some crazy talk for you. Why can't they just write all new content?
Yeah, there's that too.
Why retell things? I mean, it's cool to see it animated and whatnot, but after a while, I'm like, okay, I watch all these movies, but I'm not super excited by them because they aren't telling me something I don't know really. Why can't they, the whole Flashpoint thing, and then after the Flashpoint thing, why don't they then just tell whatever, get some people to write totally new content as opposed to retelling the first 6 issues of Justice League or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I was kind of surprised to hear they're doing the Flashpoint thing. I mean, that's the first thing I thought of when they said, after I heard they're doing the Flashpoint thing, is that they're going to make sure that all of their different areas of entertainment all coincide together.
Except that doesn't work on certain levels because of the Man of Steel movie.
Right.
So
and the other thing I think is interesting that doesn't work also is, of course, the latest video game, Injustice. Obviously, that's set in some other timeline where things are completely different.
Yeah.
But
there was some talk too. Speaking of Young Justice, there was some talk too that perhaps they canceled that because they wanted to focus on the New 52 stuff instead. But yet then we get Beware the Batman and Teen Titans Go, which has nothing to do with anything,
not continuity
really.
At all.
Yeah,
right? Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. All right, I just want to mention that so last two things. Avengers, the new movie, the second Avengers movie is coming out, and they named it. It's called Age of Ultron, and will be coming out in 2015.
Mm-hmm. So
Age of Ultron, which has nothing to do with the recent series, at least according to Joss Whedon.
Right.
It's just
they said that a lot of times.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Which, okay, then why did they use that title? They could have, called it Rise of Ultron or Ultron something, whatever. It just seems weird that they would choose the same exact title, but just that premise seems kind of cool. Ultron coming into the movies. That's Ultron's always been one of the big Avengers villains, so.
Well, how did that miniseries work out?
Oh God.
Well, there you go. So I don't know that I'm excited by it.
But that movie has nothing to do with that series.
Yeah. It's true. It doesn't, other than the name.
Yeah.
And the same characters. Has nothing to do with it.
Speaking of Ultron, though, I did see a news bit this morning before we started recording, Travis. Did you hear about the Vin Diesel thing that happened during San Diego, where he said something about there's going to be some big news related to Marvel involving him, and then Marvel came out like the next day and said, no, no, there's not.
Yeah. I didn't really look into it, but I heard kind of about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So someone is speculating. I can't remember where I read this now, but someone is speculating that perhaps Vin Diesel will be the Vision in the new movie.
Oh. Huh.
So that might be interesting. I don't care one way or the other what Vin Diesel does, but it's just a weird connection there. And then okay, finally, unless you have something else, Travis.
Nope.
I think Avengers was, Age of Ultron, big deal. There's a lot of news coming out. But I think the biggest thing for me, at least, and according to various news outlets that talked about this, the big thing coming out of San Diego that, was comic book related, was the very brief announcement of the sequel to Man of Steel, which will be a Superman Batman movie.
Yeah.
Which is also coming out in 2015. So we're going to have the battle of, DC versus Marvel that year movie-wise.
Uh-huh.
But, wow, there have been talk over the years doing a Superman Batman movie. But I honestly didn't think that they would.
No, it would never happen.
Yeah.
It would never happen.
Yeah. And I fully anticipated that, because even before Man of Steel was out, the studio greenlit a sequel because of advanced sales and just, general positive word of mouth, which, that was pretty cool. So I figured, they'd have Man of Steel. Here's the origin of the new Superman. And then we'd get probably a really interesting, I'm hoping, Superman movie. And then we'll have maybe a Justice League movie. That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah.
But to have Superman Batman, that's just blowing my mind right now.
Did you actually read or hear the announcement for that?
Yes.
Yes. So the actor who plays Superman walks out, and what does he do? He reads from Dark Knight Returns, right?
Yeah. Okay, so this is the thing that I don't like.
Like, holy crap! What the hell is that?
So apparently, yeah. So they read that quote about Bruce wanting Clark to remember, his hands on his neck and who beat you in the end and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
Which is a great moment from The Dark Knight Returns. Awesome. It was awesome, right? I don't want them to tell that story. I don't want to have the Dark Knight Returns scene be the premise of that next movie.
I hope not either. That's gonna be a fight between the two of them, and
and that's fine. I get it from the perspective of because there's been some chatter since San Diego, and we saw the Wayne Tech satellite in the movie just very briefly.
Yep.
So Bruce Wayne does exist in this cinematic universe, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see maybe Batman coming at Superman as perhaps a threat, or at least assessing him as a threat because of what happened with the Kryptonian invasion.
Yeah.
He basically destroyed Metropolis.
Yep.
And other parts of the world for that matter. Or not he, the Kryptonians did.
Them, yeah.
But Superman had a hand in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see Batman, trying to figure out what this guy is about. Is he a threat? How can I take him down? That kind of stuff. I just don't want the whole movie to be about that. And in fact, call me, Pollyannish, whatever, rose-colored glasses and all that stuff. I don't want Superman and Batman to be enemies. I want them to be. I like the dynamic of Superman and Batman. They trust each other. They are somewhat friends, but if it comes down to it, they will take care of each other if need be.
Right.
And by that I mean, if one goes off the off the reservation and does something bad,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in general, I want them to be, pals.
Right.
So to speak.
You want to know what I'm most excited about with this movie? Thing I'm most excited about is I think with this movie, it forces them to move Batman back to being more of the uber detective than just a guy walking around in armor plating, punching people in the face. Right?
Yes.
It
I
has
hope you're right. I hope you're right.
It has to because he can't compete with Superman. I mean, despite that awesome scene in that thing where he figures out a way to get himself juiced up enough to screw Superman, he can't go fisticuffs with Superman. That shouldn't be what he should fill a different role. And I think this will force, I hope, the character to be more of, he's going to be the strategy guy, the mind guy, the detective guy, versus the brawn, the obviously sheer brawn of Superman, is what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that is going to move us back into Batman movies that, after this movie, that'll be more of that. I mean, because there's a lot has to happen. They have to find a new Batman if they haven't already. They have to introduce us to a new character, a new person playing Batman. Not to say they have to reboot Batman again. Please don't. But
well, as far as I understand it, this Batman is not the Batman of the Nolan trilogy.
Right.
That's its own little thing over here.
That's fine, but I'm just saying that we as an audience will have to accept whoever it is that becomes the next guy who's going to put on the cowl, right?
Yeah. Well, and I hope too.
there'll be some conversation and some speculation and all kinds of craziness about what, even once we're told who it is, how is that going to work? You know?
Yeah.
But like I said, I just hope that that's what's going to do to the character. Because don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed the hell out of all the other Batman movies, but I think it'd be interesting to give us some sort of a more head game Batman and Batman movies down the road.
Actually, I kind of like how the Batman is being portrayed. You may disagree, but how Batman is kind of portrayed that way to a certain degree in the Justice League book. And I kind of like to see a version of that Batman in this movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because and I mean, just like you never see him really fighting things per se. He's always the person going, okay, this is what we need to do to get to deal with whatever. He is the more the investigative-ish kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so there's that, and then also the idea. So you have the Man of Steel setting up the new DC cinematic universe. We have the Superman Batman movie, and then there's talk of the next movie being a Justice League movie,
right?
Which I think is awesome. I think that's a great way to step up into a Justice League movie, and then DC and Warner can do spin-off movies from that point to find out which characters resonate with the audience, and then make a Flash movie or a Wonder Woman movie, or whatever. Right. I think that'd be great.
Well, unless they screw something up really bad or really mess with something, I just don't see how this movie is not going to be really big. Because you've got people who like both characters. I'm going to go to either movie, but you got people who are diehard Superman fans. That's what they're interested in. They could care less about Batman. You've got people who are Batman fans who don't care about the big blue Boy Scout. I don't know. I just think it's going to be, you're going to get people to go for just a bajillion reasons. I mean, Superman and Batman have to be two of the biggest, most well-known, named comic book characters, aren't they?
I would agree with that.
Sort of Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's had a lot of movies and stuff too. But otherwise, they're the two. I mean, everybody knows who those people are. I just can't see how it's not going to be huge. Unless they, like I said, really screw something up.
Well, it's Zack Snyder returning as director, and David Goyer is doing the writing, or helping with the writing. So I'm not sure now if Nolan is producing too, as he did in the Superman movie, but I'm willing to bet that he is. I'll have to go check that. But with that team again, I don't see how they can. I mean, well, obviously they could screw it up. I mean, look what happened with the third Spider-Man movie, right? The same team, but somehow something didn't work right.
Right.
But still, yeah, I agree with you. I'm just as a fan, I'm just hugely excited. For this possibility.
Yeah, I just, like I said, the only thing that threw me off was him coming out and quoting from that book.
Yes.
And quoting that part. I was like, ooh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I just hope that's a minor part of the whole movie.
There has to be conflict. There has to be conflict somewhere between the two of them before they can move past that. But hopefully, you're right. Hopefully, the whole book isn't about them messing with each other.
Yeah. So yeah, to me that was the biggest news coming out of San Diego, and it was such a short little thing, It was at the end of another panel, and they came out and they read that piece, that quote from The Dark Knight Returns, and they have the logo, the Superman shield and the Batman shield,
And then that was it.
That was it. It's like holy crap! That and as I understand it, the whole I think it was at Hall H. I think the whole thing just erupted.
Oh yeah.
It's just I really need to go on YouTube and find someone's recording of that announcement. Yeah. Just to see.
Well, I think it was a great way to do it. I think it's just like was it last year that is the actor's name Garfield who plays the current Spider-Man, where he shows up in a Spider-Man costume and he's in the audience and he comes up to the mic and starts asking he starts asking questions like it would be a typical panel kind of thing, and then reveals that he's the Spider-Man. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool and pretty exciting too, way to do it. So I mean, this just had a lot of, like I said, yeah. And then, I know part of my excitement about the fact is that I am more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan, but this is a movie I thought would never happen. To be quite honest, I just I could see a Justice League movie before I could see this movie.
Yeah, and that, yeah, exactly. I said I thought we'd get another Superman movie and then maybe a Justice League movie, but this is even better, potentially better, right?
Oh yeah, I'll be excited until they really start showing me something to make me not excited.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Anything else, Travis, you want to talk about?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for joining me to discuss these things. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, like being here.
All right. That's it. We'll be back for another episode sometime in the near future, and hopefully I'll be putting out more of these a little bit more consistently as I heal up. And it's a good stopping point, Travis, because I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking now for over 2.5 hours, but I think I've been recording for almost 2 hours here for the podcast. So it's time for me to go.
Awesome.
If you'd like to leave feedback on this episode, please do so by emailing longboxreview@gmail.com. You can also leave voicemail at 208-953-1841. Leave comments about individual episodes at the blog at longboxreview.wordpress.com. Please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. You can also find Longbox Review on Stitcher. The Longbox Review podcast is a proud member of the Comics Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.